This is what science is about and learning is about. Questioning, testing, and seeking the evidence. It's just like how we always update our TBT notes. Okay, so compared to the time when Gareth was here, the notes are very different. We even shifted to Notion. Last time it was Evernote platform. Okay, because every time we see something wrong or can improve, we're going to change it, make the notes better and better. That's our learning process as well. Okay, so here's the thing. You're being taught a scam in bio, and I would have failed you guys as an educator unless I share this other perspective. Okay, so drum roll please. What is the scam? Okay, the scam is the theory of evolution, which is a theory. Okay, so what is this? Let's define it. It's when more complex organisms evolve from less complex ones, such as virus becomes bacteria, becomes a fish, becomes like a squirrel, then monkey, then becomes a human. This is the theory of evolution of how we came about. Okay, and it requires natural selection. So these are not the same. Evolution and natural selection are different things. So what is the acronym? Do anyone remember natural selection acronym? VAST. VAST. Yeah, correct. VAST. Okay. So a brief recap, what is VAST? V is for variation example in these giraffes. Okay, some have taller necks, some have shorter necks. So the tall neck ones have a selective advantage because they can reach the leaves, and so they'll eat they won't starve, they will survive and reproduce. So they reproduce a lot of tall giraffe necks offspring, and all those with shorter necks will die out. Then over time, long period of time, more and more of the population has long necks. Very good. So you know natural selection, we know this is true, we can test it, it's confirmed real, it's verifiable. But what about this theory, evolution? Did anyone leak the video for this happening? No, because it's supposedly millions of years and evolution takes billions of years to happen. So it is a theory. No one can prove it, but natural selection is legit. It can be proven. Okay, so I'm going to share three things. Number one is something called Haldane's dilemma, which is something I also learned recently. And number two is irreducible complexity. Three is protein probability. These are three of the thousands of reasons why the theory of evolution has serious problems. Okay, even though we're being taught it as fact. Okay, so here's what evolutionists say. Mutations are what leads to evolution. Okay, imagine you're a chef, you own a restaurant, okay, and you give your recipes to other chefs in this restaurant. They have to copy it and then they can make their dish from that after they've copied it. So whenever your chefs copy out the recipe, they might make mistakes. And this is just like how our cells, every time divide, need to copy the DNA to give the other cell a copy of the DNA as well. So whenever there are mistakes, what might happen? If the chef makes a mistake and go and like maybe cook the cake for 3 hours instead of 1 hour, then the cake will be burned. It becomes yucky. Okay, most of the time, mistakes will lead to problems. But let's say the chef accidentally changed salt to cinnamon and then it tastes very nice in the pizza. Okay, so it can also lead to a good thing happening. Now, most of the mutations are bad, but sometimes you can get lucky and the mutation can be good. So that's what the theory of evolution is saying. Sometimes the lucky mistake leads to a change in DNA, changes the organism for the better, and then over millions of years, gradually evolving one species to another. Okay, so the theory is we came from apes. And we learned this, right? This is the CAQ screenshot. We learned this, and maybe now you understand why the last line says accumulation of new genes by mutation. So mutation is the mistakes, leads to us having new genes over time, and then natural selection checks, are these good or bad? Is this mistake yucky food, or is it lead to a nicer food? If it's nicer food, keep it, right? If it's a better organism, it will survive, it will stay. Okay, so now pop quiz. How old is the Earth? You might have heard this from many YouTube videos that you watch out of curiosity. So how old is the Earth? Anyone? Yeah. 4.5 billion. Wow, exactly correct. Yes. Okay, so this is according to the theory of evolution, this is how old the Earth is. Okay, when did life first appear? Answer is, okay, according to their theory, 3.8 billion years ago. Okay, so that's really long, right? From the first living cell. Right. How long did it take for humans to evolve into apes? Now, this is a very recent development compared to the first start of life, right? Humans are the latest invention of evolution. So how long did it take for humans to evolve from apes? Answer is about 6 million years ago. Okay, this is all according to their theory. And when I was younger, I used to love watching these kind of videos about if Earth's history was one single day, how long are humans here on Earth? It's an extremely small fraction, right? It's like 11:58, 56. Basically 1 minute of the whole day is how short human history is compared to the rest of life's history on Earth. Because we are a very recent thing, okay, in the theory of evolution. That's why 6 million years, because there's not much time that we have been on Earth. Okay, all this is according to their theory, not me. Okay, so now let's do the math. Now, bear with me for this math. Don't worry, I've done all the calculations. You don't have to do in your head. But bear with me for the math because numbers don't lie. Okay, numbers and facts don't lie. People's ideas can be wrong, but numbers don't lie. Okay, so what we're going to do is apes becoming humans, right? Let's see how long it will take for it to happen, right? That's what we're going to calculate. And this was all done by an extremely famous and smart scientist called John Haldane. And he's the one who came up with this issue. He noticed a problem, right? That's what we're going through. So how different is apes' DNA from us? How many percent? Just guess. 5? Okay, good. Any other guesses? Adrian, guess? 10? Okay, good. So when I was younger, right, this was perpetuated that we are so similar to apes, chimpanzees, it's just 1% different. Okay. But over time, new research has realized that this is a myth. It's actually about 15% different. Yeah, last time people keep on saying, oh, we're basically the same 1%, but actually it's 15% difference. Okay, so answer 15%, right? Now, how many bases is the human DNA? How many bases is it, the entire genome? Anyone? Okay, answer is 3 billion bases long. That's our human genome, right? Now, therefore, what is the total number of changes that we must make from an ape to a human? How many bases must change? 15% times 3 billion. Very simple. So the answer is 450 million bases must change. So now we have to ask ourselves, how fast can we achieve these changes? So we need 400 million useful changes. Now, if it's a bad mutation, it doesn't help. The monkey will just die. We need a good mutation to change it to a human. Remember, we have 6 million years. That's what the theory says. This is how long humans took to evolve. So we got 6 million years to accumulate this number of mutations. Is that enough time? That's what we're going to calculate. So what is the max speed that mutations can build up? This is what the scientist John Haldane was calculating. Mutations must build on the previous one. Just like monkey is this shorter block of Legos. Human, we need to add these other blocks which are the mutations. So I must add all the blocks. If not, I won't get a human. I'll get something else that might die off. So I must add the first brick, then the second brick, then the third brick, like that. And it must happen not just to one monkey, but all the monkeys in the population. Okay, I'm not saying all the monkeys in the world, but one group of monkeys that is evolving, that group, they must get all the mutations stacked on top of each other. Okay, so let's look at this. This is a population of monkeys, of chimpanzees. Now, each new mutation that happens appears. First, it starts in one guy. So one guy has the good mutation, okay? Now, this monkey, if doesn't spread its genes, right, its new mutation, then it just dies off. Evolution cannot happen. Evolution needs it to spread to the whole population so that overall, over time, that population evolves. Okay, so let's say I have a superpower, let's say like X-Men mutation gene, okay? I have one, but sadly, we don't mutate a whole gene at once. We mutate one base at a time. So let's say I have one base that I have now. And this thing can give me superpowers, but I want to spread it to the whole human population. Okay, let's say not the whole human, let's say just Singapore. How long does it take for me to spread my X-Men DNA mutation there to the whole Singapore? I need to have a lot of children, right? And then my children need to have a lot of children to slowly spread and consume the whole population so that we all have the gene. And not only must my children spread it, but the other people who don't have it, their children must be less and less, or maybe they die out so that I can take over the population. So this spreading, right, is what must happen for evolution. We must spread that good gene, that good mutation to everyone, or almost everyone. So notice, we need to wait many generations, right, for my children to slowly spread, and to take over. So the rest must die out, and then the special one, that one must have a lot of children. Okay, but the rest cannot die out too fast. If they die out too fast, then the population shrink until zero. Extinction, okay? So that is what the scientist calculated. He realized that, hey, there is a limit to how fast we can spread these new genes throughout the population. And it's even a small population of 10,000, right, which is relatively easy to spread compared to Singapore has millions of people that I need to spread to. Just a smaller population, you need 300 generations. Okay, so your grandparents, then your parents, then you, that is 3 generations only. Imagine that by 100 more times. Then finally, your good mutation can spread to the whole of the population. Okay, so we need 300 generations, right? Now, how long does it take for each generation to reproduce? Now, for us, we get married at like 20 plus, 30 plus, then we have children at 30 plus in Singapore, okay, or late 20s. But if you were to try to like speed it up as fast as possible, how fast can the monkeys do it? About 20 years. This is what's agreed by the scientific community. Okay, so now we can do simple math. How long for one mutation to spread through the whole population? 300 generations times 20 years is 6,000 years. Now you might say, hey, this is like so slow, right? Like a snail. But it's exactly what we expect in the theory of evolution. It's supposed to be very, very slow and gradual changes. Okay, so in 6 million years, which is how long apes to humans, right? 6 million years, then we can do simple calculation. How many mutations can we add? 6 million divided by 6,000 is 1,000. So we can add 1,000 mutations only. But how many do we need? 450 million. So what progress have we made in 6 million years? 0.00022%, which is basically nothing, no progress. Okay, then you might ask yourself, so how long would it actually take to fully evolve from ape to human? How many years? Okay, if you do the math, we get 2.7 trillion years. Okay, for perspective, that's 600 times the age of the Earth. And that is 195 times the age of the whole universe. Doesn't make sense, right? How can we take more time to evolve from ape to human than the whole universe has existed? Doesn't make sense. So obviously, the math is showing that this theory has problems. Of evolution has problems. Okay, and so now we come back to this. Now you might be asking, hey, why are we limiting it to 6 million years, right? And the answer is because of the timeline of evolution. This is a very easy thing to evolve from ape to human. Ape is already so complex. Human is very little difference. But something like one cell becoming a plant, a big plant, that is way more difficult. Way more mutations must be added, which will take even longer. So something as simple as this already takes more than the whole existence of the universe. Clearly, the math is showing that there's some problem. So yeah, in the resources later, I'll link. I'll link to the article on Haldane's dilemma so that you can read more on this if you want. Okay, so math has exposed the huge flaw here, and I'm going to give you two more arguments out of the thousands of why there's a huge problem with this theory. Okay, the second one is called irreducible complexity. Now, look at this watch. Inside a watch is very complicated, right? Okay, if I were to pull out one of the gears, what happens to the watch? Cannot function, right? Exactly, because all the gears must touch the others and they all are there for it to work. What if I pull out maybe another of the screws? Will it work? It will get loose and then it'll fall out, right? So this is what irreducible complexity means. All parts must be there at the same time, then the watch will work. Okay, this is true for complicated systems, like your computer system, like your engine of a car, like a cell. Everything that is complicated and must have all parts to work must be there at the same time. So which came first, DNA or ribosomes? See, if we have DNA but no ribosomes, it just sits there as a useless piece of instruction, but with no one to carry it out. Now, if we have ribosome but no DNA, this is like a factory to make proteins, but it has no instruction, so it'll make nothing. So clearly, a cell must have both at the same time for them to even work. Okay, that is irreducible complexity, when you must have all parts at the same time. Okay, why does this contradict evolution? Evolution says that we evolve the parts slowly, one mutation, then over time, a new part of the cell comes out, a new gene comes out. But clearly, you must have all parts present at the same time. Okay, so how complex is a cell exactly? It's about 1 million times more than a watch. Okay, so it's like a city. It's like the whole country of Singapore. That's how complex a cell is. And let's watch this video because the syllabus really like dumbed down the complexity of a cell for us. But how complex it is really like mind-blowing. Okay, so let's watch this cool video. The membrane of the cell, by the way, the cell membrane. Right? You can see there's a lot of receptors that interact. That's how the cell can detect what's going on. It's like a building, right? It's like an architecture inside. Yeah, that was an enzyme reaction you just saw. Okay, so there's a lot of construction work going on in the cell. You know what's this? It's a vesicle. Vesicles move stuff, right? But they're actually transported by these little guys that walk on the roads. Yeah. There's the nucleus, and those are mRNA coming out. And you see the mRNA needs to do extra stuff, you know. It's not so simple that it just come out. It needs to then undergo more reactions. There's a ribosome. It's making a protein. What's that behind? What organ? What's that behind? Mitochondria. Mitochondrion. What's this organelle? Golgi, yes, Golgi body. It's like they're doing a synchronized dance, right? So that's just a sneak peek into how complex a cell is. And who intends to take JC Bio, raise hand? Okay, so you will learn really how complex a cell is. Okay, you will really learn that. And still, JC Bio is just scratching the surface also. Okay, so all those different parts of the cell you saw, Golgi body, the little walking guys to move things around, okay, or the nucleus, the ribosomes, all the mutations to make them must appear at nearly the same time, which doesn't make sense because evolution says things appear slowly over time. Okay, and then the last point is the probability of having a useful protein. So, pop quiz. How many different amino acids are there that are used by living things? Let's throw out any guess. 22, very close. So the answer is 20. Very good. Okay, so just like Lego blocks have different shape and sizes, there are also 20 different amino acids we can use as Lego blocks to build proteins. Now, what's the typical length of a protein? About 300 amino acids long. But the evolutionists will say, oh, when it was the primitive cells, right? When life just first evolved, maybe the proteins were not so long. Maybe they were just 150 amino acids, which is the simplest you can go. Okay, so let's think about this. 150 amino acids, every position can be one of 20. It's random combinations. So of these random combinations, we can have really is 20 times 20 times 20 all the way to 150. Of these huge number of combinations of proteins, only 1 in 10 to the power of 77 of them are useful. Okay, so now if I were to go back to the idea of Lego bricks, right? If I randomly generated which Lego brick to use in a chain of 150, let's say in this thing to build, most of the time, if I randomly generate, I'll get a useless block. But if I'm very, very lucky, sometimes I might get something like a car, or I might get a house, a Lego house, right? But those are the minority. Most of the time, when you randomly just generate which to use, you'll get rubbish, some block. Okay, and that's what happens for proteins as well. You have to put them in the right order for something good to happen. Most of the time, it's just a rubbish protein. Okay, so how small is this chance of getting a useful protein? How small is it? Okay, think about this. See, our sun, our solar system, is in the Milky Way galaxy. Our galaxy is huge, by the way. It's not just one star. It's many, many stars in our entire galaxies. Now, how many atoms are there? 10 to the power of 67 atoms. Okay, an insane number of atoms. So now, imagine this. I take this galaxy of ours, right? And I duplicate it 10 billion times. So now I have 10 billion of our galaxy, yeah? Then I take one atom, I randomly choose one atom, and I color it, I label, okay, this is the special one. And I throw it back into the vast 10 billion galaxies. Then I ask you, okay, you are going to pick a random atom now. And on the first try, you have to pick my one, the correct one. So what chance do you have of getting it correct? Basically zero chance, right? Yeah, and that's exactly what the chance is of getting a useful protein out of the random combinations. So evolution works randomly, right? Random mutations. So the chance that evolution randomly can get a useful protein to come out by mutation is that low. That is how low it is. Then people might say, okay, it's an extremely ridiculously low chance, yes. But we can have a lot of tries, right? Like the Earth is very big. Maybe a lot of proteins are forming at the same time, and we can get at least one, maybe. And also, we have billions of years of time. So we can at least get some proteins, right? Okay, so let's do the simple math. Again, I've done the math for you, so you don't need to use your brain so much. How many atoms are there in the Earth? 10 to the power of 50. Okay, that includes all the rocks deep into the Earth. Let's say I replace every atom with a protein that is now testing another combination. And every second, it will test a new one, a new combination. How many years does it take for me to get even one useful protein? Okay, if we do the math, we get 31 million trillion years for the whole Earth. Every atom replaced with a protein randomly generating another combination to get one useful pathetic short protein. Okay, that's 2.3 billion times the age of the whole universe. So even with billions of years, even if you give a trillion years, you only get one pathetic protein that actually works. Okay, you don't get all the thousands of different proteins we need for even a simple cell to work. Yeah. So you can find more resources, okay, on websites like this, YouTube channel. I like this channel, Creation Ministries International, where they have PhD scientists actually talking about these things. And I'm not sponsored by any of them, okay? Yeah, then Haldane's Dilemma, this article, I'll link it later. This one, Answers in Genesis. So we have seen, in summary, three things. Humans evolving is mathematically impossible. Irreducible complexity makes change through gradual process impossible. And not even one useful protein can form in the entire history of the universe. Okay, so I tell you this story about an atheist who, atheist means someone who believes that there's no God lah. Okay, he was in jail and he was staring at the brick wall of the cell he was in. And then he asked himself, you see, if someone told me that this brick wall came about by maybe lightning struck the sand and then the clay and then it became brick and then like the whirlwind blew and then there was an earthquake that moved the bricks into this order, I would say to that person, you're an idiot. But I believe that a cell, which is so much more complicated, came about by random processes. So he started to question, why does he believe that, right? When something as simple as a brick wall he doesn't believe comes about randomly. Okay, and so he realized that natural explanations are not substantial for why life exists. Okay, so why do people still believe in it, in evolution? Okay, let's brainstorm. Why is it so accepted if there's so many flaws? Because an easier explanation. Okay, good. Easier in what sense later we'll see. Any more? Why is it held on to so tight? Okay, there are several reasons like because people don't want to admit they're wrong. Okay, that's number one. Number two is because it's already in our textbook, in our school system. People don't want to change their slides. Then the teacher have to change their textbook. Very, very, very complicated, right? Okay, and I think here's something we can realize. If people believe in something that goes against logic, we call that blind faith religion. Okay, that is something we're believing against logic. Yeah, so the school system is teaching us a religion. It's called evolution. And you don't even realize it. Now, if it was doing any other religion and shoving it down your throat, I think all of you were outraged, right? The parents were outraged, like, how dare your teach us and shove it down our throats? But it's what's happening all the time. There is a religion. Why you call it religion? Because it's against reason. Okay, it's blind faith, in fact. It's irrational. So if it's wrong, why do people not want to admit? Okay, and here's the answer. Because if we did not come about by evolution, then how do we come about? What's the only other alternative? Yeah, the only other alternative is that there must be a creator, supernatural creator. Okay, and many PhD scientists, Nobel Prize winner here, believes that science points to an existence of God. Okay, and this is a interview I saw on YouTube recently that this guy is a 200 IQ, literally 200 IQ plus guy, and he also believes in God. There are lots and lots of videos you can see of scientists through their career realizing that, okay, the science I'm discovering is just pointing to God existing. Okay, so back to the question, why do people not want to admit evolution, right? Is wrong. Because the concept of God sounds scary. Because if there's a God, that means we're accountable. Like we have to answer for our wrongs. Yeah. So, but what if God wasn't a scary thing? So do you all allow me permission to share about my views? These are just my views on what I believe. Okay, if God is real, we are accountable to his moral laws. Okay, and I know it sounds scary, but it has to sound scary first, then later you'll hear the why it's not that scary. And what are the moral laws? We all know it because we have a conscience. Okay, we know what is right and wrong. And here's the good news. If there is a God, no one can get away with wrong. There are lots of rich people that use the legal system to escape their crimes, and they never answer for it, right? But these people will never get away with things because there is a God and they will have to answer to him. But the bad news is this, no one is innocent. Even us, we are not innocent. Okay, let's just do a simple test. How many lies have you told in your life? I think we cannot count, right? So we are a liar. Okay, next, have you ever stolen something, even if it's small? Maybe you pirated music. Maybe you pirated a movie. Maybe when you were younger, you took a snack, right? Yeah, we are liars and we are thieves. And then have you ever used God's name in vain? Like you said, oh my God, or God damn it, or Jesus Christ, things like that. I know I have. Yeah. So now ask yourself this. Do you use your mother's name as a swear word? No, right? Because you respect your mother. But you use the God who gave you a mother and use his name in vain. So we are liars, we are thieves, and we are blasphemers, and so on. So I'm not the one judging you. Your own conscience is actually condemning yourself. So you ask yourself, will you be deemed innocent or guilty if you were to stand before this God who created you? And I think we all know the answer. So now people would say this, hey, wait, but I think God will understand because I've done so much good in my life. Now, if you rob a bank and you go to the judge, and then the judge says, I sentence you to like 10 years in jail. Then you say, wait, judge, I also feed the homeless. Like, I donated like this amount to charity. Now the judge will laugh at you, right? And say like, yeah, that's good. Keep doing that after you come out of jail. Yeah. You still need to serve your sentence, right? Even humans, we understand this in our imperfect legal system. So what more for a perfect legal system, a perfect God? He's not going to accept this kind of excuse. Yeah, so we have to realize you cannot earn your way out of your sins, no matter how much good you do. Yeah, but here's the good news. You can legally be let go if someone else pays for your punishment. Like if you have a fine, a speeding ticket, for example, and you're broke, someone else, your friend, can say that I'll pay the fine for you. And then the judge will let you go legally. Okay, so that's the fantastic thing. Now for me, right, what God do I believe in? Okay, based on the evidence, okay, when you ask ChatGPT, Christianity stands out because of the robust historical evidence. Yeah, so there's so much evidence for even the atheists, they don't believe in God, right? They say that, yes, Jesus Christ existed, he lived, he died, and he rose from the dead because of how many eyewitnesses said, I saw him rose from the dead. And then they were killed for saying that, but yet they still said it. So it really shows that they're not making it up. Yeah, and if really this one, right, I ask you to do your own research, okay, and take it up with Jesus himself. He's the one who claims that he was God, and then he was the one who pulled it off by dying and raising again. So take it up with him. Don't take it up with me. Go see what he says. See what he says in the Gospels and take it up with Jesus himself. So the bad news is that we broke God's law. And that condemns us to hell. Not because God is evil, but because he must punish what is wrong. And he himself came to pay our fine by dying on the cross. And that's exactly why Christians, they talk about the cross, they talk about Jesus, because he himself paid our fine so that we can go free. Okay, and the good news is then, if we trust in Jesus like we trust in a parachute, not by our own doing, but the parachute's doing, then God actually gives us eternal life in heaven. We can just join him in heaven. Yeah, so that's fantastic. Like, even though it's so unfair, we deserve to pay out the crime, but someone else paid it for us. So recently, what event happened? It's Christmas, right? So if you realize Christmas starts with Christ because it's all about Christ coming into the world. And this is a famous Christian verse you might have heard before. God so loved the world that he gave his own son, Jesus. So whoever believes in him, like we trust a parachute, and we will not perish. That is what we deserve, right? Perish. But we have eternal life. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now you might have questions. You might have counter arguments. You might have not understood a part of the science. Okay, whatever your question is, this is a Q&A, free and easy Q&A. Please post them in the Slido. Okay, for some resources on the right, like the Haldane's dilemma article, okay, please scan that QR code and you have more resources as well. How long did it take scientists to research all of these discoveries? What kind of discoveries are you talking about? If you're talking about the one in Haldane's dilemma, right, that was within his own lifetime. So it was not very long. Yeah, and the math is not very difficult to do. So it was within his own lifetime. In 1957, I think he published that paper. Yeah, so it was not very long. Yeah, so if you want to be more specific, what are the discoveries, you can post another question. Yeah, feel free to also like counter any of the points, okay? Because a healthy discussion is what helps us learn. Yeah, and there might be answers questions I don't know the answers also. If that's the case, right, I will just be frank. I'll be like, I don't know also. Okay, you can upvote the ones that you like, okay? Upvote. Then I'll answer those first. Okay, am I Catholic? No. But in the past, right, I used to think that Catholics are like all wrong. Okay, but then as I'm learning more, I'm realizing that wait, they actually have a lot of good reasons for what they believe. So I've become more open to their views. And do I know Saint Thomas Aquinas? No, but I've heard a lot about him. Apparently he has done a lot of good writings. Yeah. So I heard about him. Okay, upvote. Which ones you like? Which one you want me to answer first? Okay, it looks like the first one is the most up. At what point of development of a fetus do you think abortion is considered wrong? Okay, let me ask you this. If you went to sleep tonight and I secretly came into your room and then I injected you with a poison, you cannot feel any pain. I inject you with a poison and then you just die in your sleep. Did I do anything wrong? You didn't feel pain, what? Did I do anything wrong? You say, yeah, you murdered me. But why is that wrong? Because I took away your entire future, right? You had a future, I took it away. So if let's say an embryo or a fetus, no matter how many weeks in development, if I kill it, even if it cannot feel pain, did I not just take away its entire future? I think I did. That's called murder. Murder is taking away someone's future without having the right to, because you don't have the right to take away someone's future. Yeah, so I would say from that logic, which we all understand, then any point in the fetal development is wrong already. It's taking away the future. Okay, so next one, Jesus is God, but some say Jesus is the Son of God, and then there's the Holy Spirit. So what is God? I cannot comprehend it. I cannot comprehend how one entity called God can be three persons. Like, I'm just one guy, Keith, Mr. Keith, and that's it. I don't have three of me. Yeah. So I don't understand. Okay. But try to picture this. If I have a piece of paper like that, okay, and let's say you are all two-dimensional beings living on the paper. So you cannot see height. There's only 2 dimensions. Okay. Now, if we are on this piece of paper and I put my hand like that with 3 fingers, I put 3 fingers into the paper like this. You'll see 3 circles, right? If you're on the paper, but not realizing they're all part of one entity, my hand. You get it? Yeah. So this is why I can't understand how God can be Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. How can he be 3 persons? I can't understand. Yeah, because I'm kind of like that 2-dimensional being there. Yeah. Okay, next question. How long? Okay, I answered that already. Is it possible to believe in a God but not devote yourself to any religion? That's a good question. Like, why do we have to believe in any religion? Why can't we just be like, okay, yeah, there's a God. Thank you for creating us. Thanks. Okay, then I'm just going to live my life now. Why do we have to even care about any religion or even talk to the God, right? Okay, so picture this. Josiah is my fiance and we're going to get married soon. So she's going to live with me in my house, right? When we're married. Now, if she knows about who I am, because maybe she can search me up. Oh, okay, Mr. Keith, founder of that biotutor. So she knows about me. But why would I ever let her into my house? Only because she has a relationship with me and she knows me and we talk. That's why I will invite her into my house. Yeah. So you can know about a God, but that doesn't matter. If you don't know him personally, if there's no relationship, why would he let you into his house called heaven? Yeah. So knowing about someone is very different from actually knowing them. Yeah. And the thing about Christianity is it's not a transaction. Like a lot of religions are all about, I do X, I get Y. I offer this sacrifice, I get this benefit. I want this, I go to the temple and pray and get this because I want money or I want children. So I go and get this. It's transactions. Yeah, but the difference about Christianity is about a relationship. That it's someone who really wants to talk to you and you can talk back. Okay, and then what's my opinion on the Shroud of Turin? That is, by the way, for those who don't know what that is, it's speculated to be the burial cloth of Jesus himself. And there's been a lot of evidence and scientific testing on it that shows that it most likely is the actual thing. Yeah, and it's a supernatural. There's an imprint of Jesus on it. And that imprint is made by high, basically like laser kind of light, which is high energy. And nothing can produce that except like really expensive, huge lab machinery now. So they were thinking, how can this be produced 2000 years ago when they don't have that kind of thing? They don't have the technology we have. So it's most likely a supernatural event that produced that image. Yeah, so I think it's pretty legit. It probably is the burial cloth. Do I support Donald Trump? That's so random. I really don't understand much of US politics.
Do you support his current actions like wrong?
I know so little about it that I cannot comment. Yeah. I know he's not perfect for sure. I think he has a lot of imperfections as a president, as a person. Yeah. Okay, guys, last two questions, okay? Last two. I'm gonna ask second last question already I'm answering. What's the historical evidence of Jesus' death and resurrection? What makes it irrefutable? Okay, so something about history we have to understand is nothing is irrefutable in history or provable. Can you prove that Aristotle existed? Socrates existed? Can you prove it? Cannot prove. Because what if the document was faked? What if all his paper, his writing was faked? Maybe it's not actually him. So we cannot prove anything in history. We only can work on probabilities. Yeah. So can we say that it's very probable that Aristotle existed? Yes. Can we say it's very probable that Caesar, Roman emperor existed? Yes. Yeah. So can we say it's very probable that Jesus existed as a person? Extremely, yes. Because there's so many documents talking about him and the eyewitnesses. Okay? Then how do I say this in a simple way? So there's a Jewish historian called Josephus. That guy doesn't care about Jesus at all, but he's a historian. His job is to record history, right? And he recorded that there's this person called Jesus of Nazareth who was crucified, right? That's the death he was killed by. And after that, there were lots of people claiming to see him from the dead, rise from the dead. So this is outside the Bible. So you might say that, hey, Bible bias, right? We cannot go from the Bible. But this guy is a historian outside of the Bible. Yeah. And there was a non-God believing historian called William Durant. And when he looked at the evidence for the history, the historical evidence for all the people who are claiming that this guy raised from the dead, he realized that the evidence is so big and spread so fast, and all these people who are claiming it, they gave their lives for it, that them coming up with this story is a bigger miracle than if the resurrection actually happened. Yeah, so in other words, this person who is actually biased against God says that the evidence is clear, it must have actually happened. Yeah, it would be a bigger miracle if it was faked. Yeah. Okay, last question. Why would you say that the Bible is an accurate recorder of history? Firstly, every archaeological discovery related to the Bible has only proved it correct. There are many archaeological discoveries, such as the Old Testament conquest, where there were certain places that it named, such as, what's another one that I was thinking of? Okay, right now it's not coming to my mind, but archaeological evidence keeps on backing it up. Okay, second is the amount of prophecies in there that are actually fulfilled. Like if I say that, oh, I think tomorrow it might rain, that's a very vague prophecy. Okay, but to say exactly where someone, example, Jesus will be born in Bethlehem, example that he will come out of Egypt because he went to escape from the ruler of that place trying to kill him. He went to escape there. Yeah, and to say, oh, he will be betrayed by a close friend. He will be betrayed for how much money. Yeah, and all these kind of exact prophecies, right, are too specific. And for all of them to be fulfilled really shows that, okay, this is a supernatural author. It is not just humans that can make this up. Yeah. Okay. Have you heard about the Eucharist? What's your take on the Eucharistic miracles? I would say that I think they are very legit because they were scientifically tested. They are rigorously tested. Okay. All right. And all these, right, there are much better answers that I've compiled for y'all in the resources. So I have a Notion page actually where I compile all these resources. If you scan that QR code, there's a Notion link, which a lot of these questions that you're asking, I've put an answer there already for you. Okay, where people explain it much better than I can.